Hey, what's going on there, folks? How's it going? It is the Earthmaster here on this end of the weekend. It is Sunday, February 18th, 2024, about 8:37 p.m. here, California time. Along the west coast, where we're expecting maybe some severe weather tomorrow here. I'll cover that here at the end of this update. First, getting into earthquake activity here in the last 24 hours does show some movement down into the South America. That's where the latest earthquake is here on the globe, 3.4. Looking at the west coast here for earthquake activity. I think this here was from last night, if I remember right. Yep, 217. Haven't really seen too much major activity here over the day. Things look a little quiet out here for the most part across the Southern California area. The latest quakes do show a couple smaller quakes there around the Ridgecrest area, and also one just off the coast here. This little fault system here, San Simeon, I believe. Aside from that, looking at the bigger picture out here, let's double check the tremor map here tonight because that could play a part on what's going on here across the area. Stand by here for just a second. Tremor, wow, that's actually a pretty decent amount. 500 epicenters of tremor along the Cascadia subduction zone. So let's go ahead and check out the last week. It seems like that's when it's kicked up about a week or so ago. But for at least this tally, got 2,500 epicenters of tremor. That marks, a pretty decent uptick. Here's the last month of tremor activity, looking at about 4,741. And you can see the areas of the Cascadia that are showing some subduction. Mostly down here across the southern end, we are missing a little area here. In Central Oregon, or I can't say Central Oregon because that's Bend out here, but the Central Coast area. Not seeing a whole lot of activity. Eventually, this does fill in terms of these little quiet zones, but not bad for the past month. Looking at the all data here shows us going up a little bit, but we're not quite matching what we had seen last year in terms of the density of these tremors. And these tremors occur as a result of the subduction zone here, the North American plate. It's got the Juan de Fuca plate there sliding underneath it. Of course, preparing one day maybe for, preparing one day for the Cascadia megaquake that will hit out here. Last megaquake was back in 1700, so 324 years of built-up strain has accumulated out here, preparing for the next big one. Definitely, it will be a big one. All right, see what else we got out here across the area. Texas still seeing some movement out here in the oil fields. Aside from that, mostly smaller microquake out there across the rest of the area. Over here around the Hawaii area, seeing a handful of quakes, including a three-pointer just off the coast here. Fairly deep, though, about 40 kilometers there. Let's go check the volcano hazards map here from the USGS. Hopefully this is working tonight. It seems to be working, hopefully. All volcanoes there across the Cascades and the west coast there are quiet for now. No elevated activity. In terms of the activity across the Kilauea volcano, a look at the tilt meter here shows us, well, it was going to show us, it's going to have that issue again tonight, so I got this on standby. I knew it was going to give me some issues, so I don't know what it is with the Google Chrome browser, but the USG, it doesn't work good on the USGS page there. So we'll blow this up here a little bit so we can see. Here's the past 2 days of tilt. Not a whole lot. Actually very minimal at best. A look at the last 30 days still shows us well below our previous inflated event there across the summit. There's still definitely been a lot of displacement there of magma recently off towards the southwest rift zone. Really not seeing any signs of it out there now as far as earthquake activity goes. But I do wish we had a tilt meter or two out here across the area. Here's a look at some of the seismograph stations. Really not seeing anything of abnormal activity out there for now across the Kilauea volcano. Looking at the USGS map here, backing out a little bit. Got a handful of earthquakes here. Well, looks like most of those from yesterday. Did have one more, 4.6 here into the Tonga area. Definitely showing some interest there. Looks like maybe things may want to move there here soon as far as larger scale activity goes. There's some of that movement off into the New Zealand area. I'm going to back this off here a little bit because 24 hours should be right about here. And looking at the rest of the Pacific out here shows, for the most part, typical movement out here. This is may look like a lot of earthquake activity, but this is very typical here on any given day. Not a whole lot going on through Japan. A couple fours up there right now. Most of the activity. It does look like we got a 4.2 coming in to the Gulf of California region here. This area has been swarming quite a bit over the last 10 days or so. Haven't really seen any further migration up north, but the last time, we were getting a good swarm here. That's when we've seen some fours kick off there in Southern California, so keep an eye on that. Middle America Trench, quite active as well in this area. And the South America region, as you can see, quite a few fours and threes out there. And a lot of earthquake activity here in the Chile region. That's just a lot. So we can see where all the current activity is building up, and that's across the eastern Pacific plate here. Eastern areas and adjacent plates there of that eastern, the plate boundary. So we'll continue to watch that overnight. Definitely showing some activity here across the region. Let's see, across the Afghanistan area and China. Yeah, these were after midnight. Looks like the latest one, a 4.4 back here across the mountain range. Aside from that, nothing going on across the Atlantic Ocean aside from one quake last night down in the South Sandwich Trench. Doesn't look like there's too much activity stirring up out here for now. Let's go ahead and check out the Iceland activity, see if there's anything to chat about here across the area. 39 earthquakes there across the rift boundaries of Iceland, and a little bit here across the Grindavik area. Nothing major for now. We'll look at the... where are we? Right here. The Icelandic Meteorological Office here will give us a good update if they put one out. Doesn't look like they did, though. This was put out about 3 days or so ago, as far as magma accumulation continuing there beneath the Sivart-Singhi region. So just kind of watching that. And they know that it's rising and accumulating because of the inflation charts here. Here is the... this is the 8-hour runs here from various locations there across the area. We're more concerned with around the Grindavik area, which still looks like it's going up here. Notice that right here. This is the up displacement, February. Still seeing that upward trend. So we'll continue to watch that. Looks like maybe we're... it looks pretty consistent. Looks like it's fairly consistent to what we've seen prior to the last Fisher eruptive activity there earlier this month. All right, what else we got? Space weather activity here real quick. And looks like we flatlined here. That means that things are calming back down, and as expected, because we don't really have a whole lot of sunspots that are of noteworthy value. Now, there is a massive region out here. That's a pretty decent view of it. Out in the northeastern limb, that looks, like I say, it looks fairly complex here. Looks like it may have some further activity trailing it. We'll have to watch that. 3590 once again, pretty decent sunspot. Right now, the current flare threat, 99% chance for a C flare. M flare at 40, X flare around 5% chance or so, but really no major auroras there in the forecast for now. Hopefully we can get that to change. All right, looking at the severe weather threat here now. This is kind of interesting here as far as the potential here for tornado activity across Northern California. Kind of odd, right? We do get a tornado or two here on occasion when things are just set up properly. And areas around Sacramento, Stockton, Modesto, up to about maybe just south of Yuba City here, we're looking at a 5% chance of tornado probability. Now that means that there's a probability of a tornado within about 25 miles of a point. We're not going to see any EF2 to EF5s, I don't think. We don't get them that big out here, but they are forecasting here potential for a couple tornadoes with everything that's lining up out here. Now, going to be in the 2%. I'm just outside of Chico here, but I'm going to drive down tomorrow to cover this. I'll be live streaming if I can, hopefully, and covering this event. There's supposed to be quite a few thunderstorms that are going to be popping up here. And we have a decent chance for some wind and hail in there as well. So there's let me bring up the pivotal weather page here. This is Northern California, and I like to use here, there's a couple different things that you can use in terms of weather models. Now, supercell composite is one of them. This basically gives you an idea where potential supercells are going to develop here. And we're looking for tomorrow afternoon, and roughly it seems like about 1718 Z or so, early afternoon, we start getting these darker images out here where we're seeing the potential of some supercell development. It doesn't look like it's going to extend late in the evening, but it looks like around the 19 to 20 Z time here. This is going to be around 2 o'clock or so. Looks like we got some decent buildup here, and that is right over the this is going to be Willows, Orland, Chico area. So I may not go down south here. I don't want to deal with all the traffic. I may stick around this area or maybe position myself in between the two zones here. But it does look like there's a decent chance of seeing some of these models here indicating the possible hazards of a tornado because of all the dynamics here. I really don't know a whole lot about these weather models here. It does show the elevated levels here in the atmosphere and the temperature there at the surface and the temperature that I believe that's expected in order to create the convection. So, but either way, that's what it says here. Possible hazard there for tornadoes in this area. So we're going to watch this pretty closely. Again, I'll be out here tomorrow covering that. And I heard there's a couple other storm chasers coming out here. So, goodness. Significant tornado parameter here. Roughly about the same area here. This is a fixed layer. Notice this area up here just around the Chico area and a little bit north of Orland around Corning maybe. So I'm going to target this area right here for tomorrow. I know a lot of people are going to be around Sacramento, but Sacramento is a traffic nightmare, and when it rains and there's severe weather, it's even worse. Pretty much comes to a halt. So I'm going to avoid that area at all costs, and we'll see how this plays out tomorrow. So I'm hopeful. Some of the reflectivity models out here for that time frame. This is what is that, about 18? Oh, that's 21. This is getting later into the afternoon, but yeah, these could all be individual supercells out here. And of course, any one could have a chance of having some rotation out here and maybe producing some tornado activity. This one covers a marginal tornado risk here, and that supercell looks like it's over. Which one did I do? Was it this one right here? I think it was. Okay, so that's just over the Corning area, it looks like, or outside of Corning. Either way, there's definitely going to be the potential out here for some severe weather come tomorrow. And I'll be ready. I'll be out streaming this. So make sure you guys subscribe here to the channel. Get notified. You'll get notified if you click that notification bell there on the YouTube channel. And make sure you include all notifications. That way you guys can catch the live stream out here tomorrow. Have a good night. I'm going to bed kind of early because I'm going to be getting up early to cover this. I'm all caught up on my school work, so I don't have to really worry about that for now. Just going to be getting up early and positioning out here in the Sacramento area, north of Sacramento, around this area right here, probably around Colusa or so, for tomorrow's severe weather potential. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow sometime. Stay safe.